It is nice to have you here today, Mrs. Redding. Always a pleasure. And it was a pleasure having you, Mr. Secretary, at my annual Farmers Breakfast this past Monday. The ag community in Southern York County is always happy to hear from you on agriculture issues in Pennsylvania. And I have to commend you for your passion and your willingness to engage our local farming community, even if it means arriving in York County by 7 a.m. in the morning on a Monday. So you hit on many different topics, one of them being farmland preservation. And you said it yourself, Mr. Secretary, with great pride in your voice that Pennsylvania has preserved farmland, way more farmland than any other state in the nation.
Yep.
Preserved farmland is an investment. It's an investment from the taxpayer. It's an investment by that farming family to ensure that the farm continues to be productive for generations to come. And they give up that high value that their property may be worth to a developer to turn the farmland into a housing community, a warehouse, or anything else. And it's because the farmer wants to keep his or her land in farming. No farms, no food. It's that simple. So I think if we did a show of hands in this room with the committee, it would be unanimous that farmland preservation is a great investment by Pennsylvania taxpayers. We hear Governor Shapiro tout his energy policies and what the federal government did under the prior administration. But I think about that preserved farmland that's in major jeopardy in my district due to a proposed pumped storage facility along the Susquehanna River in Chanceford Township. And I'm talking about the taking of 1,000 acres. A large amount includes preserved farmland. And I've got a real problem with a private developer being able to come in and potentially steal this property at a greatly discounted value. Not only is that developer robbing that farm and that farmer of their life's work, they're robbing future generations of farming, and they are robbing a sustainable food source, but they're also robbing the taxpayers who have put considerable resources into preserving that farmland. I've got a great concern over the preliminary approval of that hydroelectric energy storage facility. Taxpayers invest a considerable amount of money into this, yet I would argue that in this case, no one is made whole. And the developer gets a piece of property at a massive discount, and it's wrong. And I welcome your thoughts on that. Is your department willing to work with us, with the Trump administration, to put an end to this project that has the potential to eliminate preserved and pristine, highly productive farmland from our map for good?
I appreciate your passion on this. Last year's breakfast, I got an earful very clearly about this, and fairly so. You know, I think it's important. It's sometimes easy to look at these open spaces as they're for the asking, right? I think you look at the properties we have and what Pennsylvania has done with 6,500 farms across the state, that these farmers have entered into a covenant with us. In exchange for some compensation, they have said that this farm will remain a productive agricultural asset in perpetuity. That is forever, right? And we need to honor the construct of that. So they are not for the asking. So in this case, when we expressed in my letter to the York Energy Storage last April, very clearly said, you can do energy, you can do a project, but you can't do it there. You're not going to take the preserved land that the family has exchanged and preserved. And by the way, the York County has built a program around. So it's the wrong place to put a project of that scale if you're going to condemn the land for purposes of for the hydro project. So that is a conversation we have to have. Number two is, and we've said this over and over, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission gives zero credit for farmland as a business. This has been a long-standing issue, that they do not look at the farms as businesses. They may look at other businesses they go across. We had this with the PJM issue a couple of years ago in the power line. So it's a standing policy question, right? You need to recognize that these farms are businesses. Two, if they're preserved, stay away from them, right? We've already spoken, we made the investment, the family knows what they want to do, and the county and the state have entered an agreement to keep those lands in production agriculture. So fully on board, very supportive, concerns about both farmland being condemned, particularly preserved land being condemned for any reason, right? Not just the energy projects. And we really need to protect that and raise that as a public policy point, both state and federal.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.